Hello everyone, welcome to another live stream hosted by me, Mr. Philly. I'll be your host, and today we got a good one for you today, guys. Today we are making, well, altogether it's going to be a three-part. And the only reason why I make it three parts is because, the house that I live in is a little small, so there's a lot of odds and ends and, crevices you got to get through. A little claustrophobic feeling here, so it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we're going to make altogether some homemade spaghetti with homemade meatballs and homemade marinara sauce. So delicious, delicioso. So anyway, we're gonna start with the marinara sauce in this this video. So, and I'm gonna give you guys a freebie. The last time I made the big ziti, I'm gonna use the same exact marinara sauce recipe because it was so simple to use and it was so simple to make and it was so delicious. When I say 5 stars forever is usually when I find a recipe that I'm usually stuck with or whatever. Hello, and I hope you guys are having a great Sunday afternoon just like me. Every day's Christmas. I'm blinking and breathing, walking and talking, I'm better than I deserve. So anyway, I hope everybody else is doing well as well. So anyway, to begin, and I know it's very easy to buy store-bought marinara sauce, but you know what? This recipe is just so simple, and that's why I got stuck with it and fell in love with it. Once you try, marinara sauce, homemade, and there's so many simple recipes to find, especially this one that I'm using, you will fall in love with it, I promise. So if you haven't tried it, I strongly recommend giving it a try. So anyway, all right, so for this recipe, like I use the same marinara sauce recipe in my Big Ziti video. So to begin, we use a shallot, and this recipe is going to be doubled. So we're going to use a whole shallot. I mean, shallots are fairly small, so it's usually supposed to be half a shallot. So here we go. Let's see. Let's cut that in half. All right. Just going to begin by dicing our shallot. There we go. Oop. Right in the middle there. I'm getting better at this, I promise, or I hope at least. There we go. Beautiful. Aside, start on our other half of our shallot. So like I said, this recipe is doubled actually. The last time it was a singular recipe, but we're gonna be making a lot of meatballs later, so and some pasta with it. And I wanted to have leftovers because we're also gonna be probably using this for a meatball sandwich later this week. Leftover meatball sandwiches, so delicioso. Hello S, how you doing? Right, there we go. And that is all the veggies that you have to dice for this recipe. Oh, I'm better than I deserve. Every day's Christmas. How's your day today? Francisca Serrano. Francisca Serrano. Well, so Italian. Sounds very Italian. All right. I am making homemade marinara sauce and then later homemade meatballs and spaghetti all together. So homemade spaghetti, meatballs, and marinara sauce. So yeah, it's gonna be delicioso. I have no way of playing music. I wish I could though. All right, so I'm gonna have to adjust this camera really quick and then throw you guys over to the pan. So, all right, my pan's right here. Haven't ate today, fourth one. I haven't either, actually, so yeah. This is gonna be a big dinner, so I just waited So that's why, yeah, this is pretty much gonna be my full meal of the day. All right, let me adjust this camera really quick. There we go. Oh, much better. Oh, kind of, sort of. I think I'm gonna have to put you guys over here. There we go, much better. Okay, so now I'm gonna transfer our shallot. Oh, first we're gonna add, now this recipe called for 2 tablespoons of olive oil, but we're using 4 since this recipe is double today. There we go. Make sure it heats up a little bit. There we go. I think it's about 4. You know, it's really great. You know, once you start using tablespoon measurements, cook actually starts using photo memory to see how much tablespoons look. So I think I'm getting a lot better at doing that. So I'm really happy about that. Not having to use measurements. I can just do it by just visualizing it. There we go. We added our shallot in there. Francesco, same what? Is that what you're making that too today or something? You know, and the fourth wall. This recipe is actually very, very easy. Actually, if you've never made, you try, and that's actually how I got into cooking. I used to look at recipes and I was like, well, that's so overwhelming. But every recipe there's so many recipes out there that you can simplify, even the most fanciest of dish. So just start from scratch, look at something really simple, and then just go from there. And that's pretty much how I got into cooking. So yeah, like this right here, marinara sauce recipe. It's so easy to make. I mean, if you ever just want to make, spaghetti meals from a little bit more scratch, then this is a good place to start. Lag? What do you mean? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean by that? So I don't know if that's a word you're trying to shorten. Anyway, so for this, so our shallot, all we're trying to do right here is get some color on it and just get it soft. That's it. We just want it soft. We don't want to overcook it. Make sure it's on a low setting. That's it. So yeah. So just get a little. We just want to make sure it's just a couple minutes, and then we're just gonna get it soft, and then we're gonna add our sauce. Hello, S. Did we already say hello? Alright, give me a moment. I'm just going to go grab a spatula or wooden spoon in this case. There we go. Oh yeah. Already smelling so good. Calming streams like this. Yes, cooking is actually, well, I like that you said that. Cooking is actually supposed to be a very relaxing, very therapeutic type of activity, actually. And that's one of the reasons why I like it. I feel so at home and I feel so much myself when I cook, so. So today we are using, the crushed tomatoes, tomatoes, and I usually use contadina. I think that's a really, really good name. So yeah, that's usually what I use when I'm making like a pasta sauce or even a pizza sauce or whatever. I really like that. In this case, we're using 2 of these. These are pretty big, but we're gonna have a lot of leftovers. That's what I'm plan on doing. So I'm gonna use 2 of those, and that's gonna be a lot. Usually I would use my Dutch oven for this, but The kitchen is so small, there's really no room to put it. So unfortunately, my Dutch oven is stuck in storage. So hopefully this pan is big enough for it all. And that's looking so delicious. Oh yeah. We got a good softness, and we got some. Oh, we already got some great smells already going on. So yeah. Before we add our sauce though, I forgot to mention we do have to add our garlic, and this recipe called for 2 cloves of garlic, so we're going to use 4 today. And honestly, I mean, garlic is one of those flavor enhancers, so you can use as many as you want. We're just going to, you know, grate it right in there just like so. Oh yeah, beautiful. Oops. So we got 4 of these coming. 4 cloves of garlic to add in there. Basically grate our garlic in there as it's cooking. Oh, it smells so beautiful already. Oh, bellissimo. So beautiful. All right, so now that we've got all our garlic well incorporated in there, we're just gonna give that a little bit of a quick mix just to get those flavors, you know, to get to know each other, give them some chemistry. So it smells so delicious already. This is the best part about Sunday or any day, when your kitchen starts smelling like Italy, you know? So you know you're cooking something really good. You got that, the extra virgin olive oil, and you got the garlic, and then you got the onion on the shallot in this case. It's so beautiful. All right, now it is time to add our crushed tomatoes. Forgive me, my it's a little dull. It just takes a little bit of time to get these stupid cans open. All right. Here we go. We're gonna add the crushed tomatoes. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Yeah, definitely we could fit another one in there. All right. So we got our crushed tomatoes in there. We got one more can to throw in because this recipe is doubled. Like I said, I'm trying to get a lot of leftovers, and I'm really trying to have a big, fancy Italian dinner tonight. Italiano. Give that a little bit of mix before. Turn the heat up just a little bit, Oh yeah, that is looking amazing so far. Oh yeah. And you just feel that aroma. I am just so in love with this homemade marinara sauce recipe, because I used to, one of the things, I didn't really like making, marinara sauce because, well, I mean, a lot of, fancy recipes, you can take your, make your own crushed tomatoes with your tomatoes, but, I know it sounds really bad, but I'm a little lazy. I don't always like doing that. It just takes a lot of time, but, I'm just not really that good yet. But this recipe is still pretty damn good, though. All right, we got one more can to open up. Give me a moment. All right, there we go. We got our second can, and there we go. All right, that's it. Because this recipe's doubled. Usually only you use one for this recipe. All right, we're going to turn the heat up a little bit. All right, give that a little bit more of a mix. Oh, yeah. Now we're going to add some salt and pepper, Now, the recipe called for a teaspoon, but you can add as much as you really want. It really doesn't matter. This recipe's doubled, so we're just going to do probably about 2 teaspoons. All right. Because salt and pepper is just a taste, so it depends how strong of the taste that you really want to have. So, yeah, I think that's good amount of salt. I mean, you can add more, and you can play with these recipes as much as you want with salt and pepper. It's just a taste booster. That's really what it is. All right, here we go. Pepper. There we go. Oh yeah, beautiful. Marinara sauce. Turn up the heat just a little bit more. Oh man. And I just want to say, I feel like my Italian side is coming out. For all those you don't know, it is not bruschetta. It is bruschetta. Bruschetta. Yes, I looked it up. It is bruschetta. Just a fun fact for you. All right, give me a moment. Oh boy. Oh, we're gonna have to turn the heat up just a little bit, just to get this really good cook into this, you know. This is coming along really, really well, though. It smells like Italy in here, though. So good. Delissimo. Oh, man. Next, all right, so just to let that cook for a little bit, we're gonna try to trap some moisture in there, and then we're just gonna put a lid on that for a second, and then we're gonna get our rest of our ingredients ready. So the next ingredient is, for this recipe, you would call for 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, but we're gonna use 4, because this recipe is doubled. So, all right, just give me a moment on that, though. So anybody else have any fun plans today or anything, or what? Anything fun happened over the week? It's just a typical week for me. Nothing really new. Anybody have anything fun planned for the day or what? I'd love to hear about it. It's fun to share, anything exciting going on or whatnot. The weather got a lot hot. It was, for the last week, beginning of September around where I'm at, it felt like a little bit like fall. But, this week, the heat's coming back. So the last 2 days, it feels like still summer again. And I feel like, the way the weather's going, though, I think we're going to have an early fall where I'm at. Because, last week it was down in the 50s and 40s. So, but now this week and next week is supposed to be up to the 70s and 80s again. So, yeah, we still got summer going on. So, which is fine, It's nice, my car gets really hot. So, I mean, it's nice not have to turn the AC on every time I'm going to work in the morning. So, yeah, like during the summer, first thing you got to do, turn the AC on in your car. Oh, man, because, otherwise you're going to feel like you're cooking it within like 10 minutes of being in there. All right, now we got that good and cooking, and, we got that little sizzle going on there. Oh, yeah. It smells so good. Oh, I love it. I love it already. All right, let me go grab the balsamic vinegar that we're gonna add. There we go. Hello, Jackson. How you doing? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I can get this one open. Crap. Give me a second. Alright, let me get my measuring spoon, because that's a little bit different for this. We're going to add 4 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. So, give me a second. Here it is. Now, originally it called for 2 tablespoons, but like I said, this recipe's doubled, and I'm just keeping that in mind so you guys keep following. So it's just something that you can hopefully maybe use if you've never made homemade marinara sauce, or something that you want that's a little simpler than completely from scratch marinara sauce. But this marinara sauce is really delicious, honestly. I strongly recommend trying it. Alright, so 4 seems a little too much, so I think we're just going to do 3 today. today, and then go from there. So yeah. All right, we got our balsamic vinegar, and I think we added a decent amount. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, it really depends. I am making homemade marinara sauce, and then later I'm gonna make to answer your question, we're making homemade meatballs, but I'm just dividing this in segments. So spaghetti with homemade meatballs and homemade marinara sauce. So yeah. Anyway, so a lot of people don't like that acidic flavor in their marinara sauce. You know, I'm divided, but you know, I really actually do like a little bit of an acidic flavor in my marinara sauce. But you know, the balsamic vinegar will probably add a lot to it. So with this recipe, you know, it calls for a quarter of a teaspoon of sugar. But we're gonna add a little bit more than that. You know, just to give that balance between that acidic flavor. So you kind of have to with this one. So, and that's why it came out so amazing, actually. You got to have that balance between the acidic and the sweetness, too. I think I like a little bit of in the middle, but, you know, I do definitely like to feel and taste that acidic flavor in my marinara. So, all right, give me a moment. Sorry about that. I was just trying to get the sugar. It's just buried in there in the refrigerator. I put mine in the refrigerator just because we had an ant problem a while back. The last person that lived here had an ant problem, so I don't like to leave, you know, anything sweet, sugar, water. That's what ants are, you know, attracted to. I haven't seen any of that yet, but you know, I just wanted to be on the safe side. Anyway. So for this, it called for, or I mean that, called for a quarter of a teaspoon, quarter of a teaspoon of, sugar. And so we're gonna use, like I said, this one's doubled, so we're gonna start with half a teaspoon and go from there. So yeah, I think that's a good amount. There we go, beautiful. All right, that looks beautiful. Smells so good. Oh man, bueno, mucho bueno, so good. And if I feel like it, am I gonna be the last minute? Because you know, I know wine, and you know, even you know, if you have a good white wine or a good sweet red wine, you know, that's a good thing to add to a marinara sauce too. But you know, this recipe didn't. You know, I mean, it does not hurt to add it, but we're gonna wait till we add all our ingredients, and then we're gonna see before. So, anyway, and so. Next, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of oregano. Dried oregano. That's what this recipe called for. There we go. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. Smells so good. Oh, man. Smell it from here, right? You know, looks can be intriguing, and that's why you start, you know, recognizing smells when you look on television, when you look at a cooking channel or something, you know. I was like, oh yeah, I feel that way too a lot of times when I watch, you know, cooking channel. Man, those smells, cook or somebody that cooks all the time, you know, those smells translate no matter what you're looking at or what you're watching. Even if it's just on television or, you know, YouTube. So, I totally dig. Now we're gonna add the cane sugar, and then we got, lastly, I think this is the last ingredient. We're gonna add, you don't have to add this is totally optional, but you know, since I actually discovered this, you know, red pepper flakes, you know, I never knew the significance they had until I started cooking, but you know, red pepper flakes really add such a great kick to pasta or any type of marinara sauce. So yeah, that's a good thing to add. So we're gonna start with half a teaspoon, and we're gonna go from there. Right. And that is pretty much it for this. All the ingredients that are well in there, you know. We'll give you a moment. This is the point, you know, where, you know, add your ingredients to the recipe that you can play with it. You know, maybe it needs more salt, more pepper, you know, more this or less of that. You know, that's just where you recognize your mistakes. And that's the great thing about cooking. You know, you play with it a little bit. You can add a little bit more, a little less, but you know, things that, you know, aren't added, you know, you think if you add this, it might be all right. You know, sometimes you take a risk when you add something, but you know, that's the thing about cooking. You know, you take a recipes are always approximate. They're not like perfect. No, you can follow your recipe to a perfection if you want, but you know, sometimes you're like, you know what? Hey, you know, take multiple recipes and say, well, I like this ingredient, but I don't like that ingredient. So you can mix and match. That's the great thing about, and I said this, and I don't stress this enough in a lot of my videos. You know, mix and matching recipes. That's the thing about cooking. You know, recipes are always approximate. You know, it depends on you, what you like, and what you feel, you know, when you taste something. It's always an approximate thing. Sometimes you should add a little bit more than what recipes say, or add a little less to get the flavor that you want out of it. So anyway, we're gonna take a taste of this, and I'm gonna tell you what my thoughts and my ratings are so far. There we go. Homemade marinara sauce. First taste test. Amazing. Oh my goodness. Oh, tastes like Italy. That is $1 million marinara sauce right there. Oh my gosh. You know, I don't know if it really needs anything. Maybe I might add some wine to it, but man, it is really amazing the way it is, honestly. Oh man, I think I really did a good spot on job on this. So amazing. Oh man, if you were here, I line up everybody. I love to cook. I love to cook for people, you know. It's just a talent that is meant to be shared with everybody. You know, I love, you know, criticism. I love constructive criticism, and you know, I love, you know, people trying my food or whatever. Is phenomenal. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I really am kind of afraid to add anything because I think it is really good the way it is, honestly. Maybe just a little bit more sugar, but not very much, you know? But let me see, one more time. Oh, you know what? Something that I was going to add that it wasn't meant to be, but you know, some basil. We can use some basil. Basil, where the heck is that? I just had it right here. I had some regular basil here, but you know, I guess I don't have that. I just have this. I had some leaf basil on the stem, but I don't know what I did with it. But I also have some store-bought. This is kind of fresh, not exactly, but it's chopped up already fresh. So that icing on the cake flavor. So we're gonna add a little bit of basil. There. Beautiful. All right. I think that will be the icing on the cake. There we go. Beautiful. Just a little bit. And that really was the icing on the cake. Oh my gosh, that is $1 million marinara sauce. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Oh man. Well, does anybody have any final thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, or anything like that? You know, I'm open to everything. All that I ask is please be respectful. Yep. I mean, I don't see many people on, but you know, Well, this was so much fun. Stick around here in a second. Later on, here in a few, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna put this in segments, and the next segment is we're gonna make the homemade meatballs. So stick around, and hopefully the next hour or two shouldn't be too long. Just gotta do some rearranging. I wouldn't have to put this in segments, if I didn't have such a small kitchen and certain small living areas. But you gotta adapt. Gotta do what you gotta do. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the likes and hopefully subscriptions. I really appreciate it. All right, I'll catch you in a few. Next segment, we're making our homemade meatballs, and then we're gonna finish them in our marinara sauce. All right, catch you in a few, guys. Bye. Bye, Jackson.